Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and you guys know what time it is. It's time for another client lesson update. This is a segment that many of you have said is your favorite type of my video, so if you're one of those people, please remember to click like down below, help keep the likes higher than the dislikes. But over to the point. One of the problems I have with some of my skinnier clients, my undereaters, my guys who struggle to put on significant amounts of muscle, is the problem of food volume. Now, before some people chime in and say, oh, it's Jason just trying to make everyone fat, or silly people will say things like, well, if you don't look like Blaha, train like Blaha, you guys would be surprised how many of my clients have more aesthetic physiques than I do. A lot more than you would think. And some of my guys do care about aesthetics, and we adjust their training accordingly, right? Training is based upon people's goals. Even though I want all of my guys to get stronger, anyone who comes to me probably wants to get stronger. Doesn't mean some of those guys don't have goals. And you guys have to remember, what are the three factors that determine how aesthetic someone usually is? Number one, genetics. Well, we can't change that in anybody. Number two, body fat. Number three, your delts. And I'm not talking about competitive bodybuilding because those guys look like total trash anyways as a general rule. But we're talking about what people classify as aesthetic, an aesthetic physique, not bodybuilding standards. Those three factors, that's basically it. That's what's going to determine it. So again, it has nothing to do with me. So it's always silly when that gets brought up. So let's not go there that Jason's trying to make everyone fat. Let's be realistic. If you are 12% body fat and you want to gain significant muscle, you're going to have to gain weight. Because you're not going to recomposition from 12% body fat down to 8% body fat. Okay, hopefully the majority of you out there understand that. Okay, again, if you're 160 pounds at 12% body fat at 6 foot tall, you're going to have to gain weight to gain muscle. Period. Nothing to do with making people fat. And a person who's at that body fat, if they gain significant muscle, if their body fat percentage goes up, they're probably going to look leaner because they're going to be bigger. Case in point, Mikey, who all of you know, you've all seen him, you've seen his interview, you've seen before and after. He's continued to gain muscle since then, by the way. We put, trying to think of the time of those updates, because now he's up more. I think it was 14 pounds of body weight. Everyone's like, he looked leaner. He gained fat. He didn't gain 14 pounds of muscle in less than 6 months. He didn't gain 14 pounds of muscle in 5 months. He gained fat. He just looked leaner because his fat gain was outpaced by his muscle gain like 3 to 1. Because he probably gained 3 pounds of muscle for every pound of fat that he gained. He gained fat, he bulked. He ended up looking more jacked and leaner. And I'm sorry, but if people think a 5'10" kid at 164 pounds looks juiced up, I don't know what to tell you, because that came up too. But how did Mikey go about it? He drank tons of whole milk, ate tons of sandwiches. The kid basically lives on sandwiches, like roast beef sandwiches, whole milk. Now, for his goals, that's perfectly fine. He's a young, healthy, extremely active kid with maintenance calories very close to 4,000. Okay, his TDEE went up so fast when we were working with him that at 3,500 he couldn't even gain weight. Like he had to keep bringing it up till he got into the 4,000 range, sometimes higher. Just what his activity is. So the problem we have with a lot of guys when they try to start adding calories in, they get too caught up in the bro eating. And I'm not saying you should be eating a bunch of refined stuff. In Mikey's case, that's what he did. I have another client who has visible abs who eats junk food because that's what he has to eat to gain weight. Okay, if you're training hard, you're gaining weight very slowly and you still have a visible six-pack, I can assure you your diet is probably not largely unhealthy. Now, I still would tell the majority of people they need to eat whole foods. I personally don't eat stuff like that. And I think that surprises a lot of people because I'm not ripped. I don't eat refined foods at all. Okay, the only time I eat refined foods might be on a vacation, social settings. I don't have anything like that in my house. I don't go to the store and buy it. I don't go to a restaurant and buy refined foods. I just don't. But as far as clients go, I think what people mess up on is that, again, some of my guys who are thinner, they're trying to focus on eating healthy. And a lot of times they run into problems because they end up eating too much fiber. They end up eating a diet that's too low in fat because in their mind that's generally what's considered to be healthy. But there's a problem. It's one thing to consume higher bulk whole foods when you're on 2,000 calories, right? If the average American ate that way, the obesity epidemic would go away. Look, if the average American managed to squeeze down 40 grams of fiber every day, I don't think we would have the obesity problem that we do, especially if they're on 2,000 calorie diet, because they'd probably be fairly full all the time. The problem we have with bulky foods for people who are already struggling to gain weight, people who have a history of being underweight, high bulk foods are the worst thing they could be eating. And I'm not saying we don't need to get some vegetables and fruits in, because we do. Obviously, everyone needs to eat those things. But what I would say is that one of the problems they have, a lot of these guys, they feel too full. But then it's like, but you're eating a pound of vegetables every day. Okay? Eating a pound of vegetables. Well, I mean, which is perfectly fine for a lot of people. That's what I eat. I eat in the range of about a pound of green vegetables every day. Getting our vitamin C, our vitamin K, our phytonutrients. That really what they should be eating though? Meaning if you need to be eating 3,000, 3,500, 3,800 calories to gain weight. Now, some of my clients can say, oh, you're talking about me, right? You made this video just about me. Yes, and you, and you, and you. So I don't want any of my guys listening to say, oh, this is just about me. I don't ever make a video about client updates if only one person is being talked about, because there's no point. But when I have three people, at least three people with the same problem, it's time to make an update, or three people who we've had to learn the same lesson from. So here's what I would say to a lot of people struggling to get this stuff in. You can eat healthy foods, but get your food volume down. The exact opposite of what people use for weight loss, right? Because normally you want bulkier foods to lose weight. We can eat healthy foods. Let's give some examples. If you're too full because you're eating too much oatmeal, which is full of massive amounts of soluble fiber, you might want to replace that with potatoes or something. And potatoes have a high satiety too, but you probably want to cut some of that fiber down a little bit. Okay? Cut it down. Replace it with something with less fiber in it. If you're wanting to get your phytonutrients, your vitamin C, all this other stuff from your vegetables, instead of eating a pound of green vegetables a day, just tiny amount. Maybe replace it with fruit. Okay, you're still going to get some fiber. You're going to get all your vitamins that you're usually getting from vegetables, but you're going to get it with a higher caloric load. Now, we come over to the other point. Do we need as much fiber when fat's up in our diet? No, we don't. Okay, the reason a lot of times we need a lot of fiber in our diets because we eat high protein, low fat. Okay, yeah, you're going to need more fiber to push everything through. The same thing when we're talking about more fat in the diet. Well, again, if you want a slow glycemic load from your carbs, more fat does the same thing as fiber will. Okay, instead of eating lean proteins, replace them with fattier proteins. We get higher caloric density with the same amount of usually protein. Okay, what do I mean? If you're eating a low-fat or fat-free yogurt, replace it with full-fat yogurt. Okay, you're going to be able to get more calories in easier. If you're eating chicken breast, replace it with chicken thighs. You're eating a lean cut of steak like flame steak, replace it with ribeye. Okay. If we do these things, it's very, very easy just with the higher fat protein sources. It is easier for us to get up 500 more calories, 600 more calories for the same amount of food volume in your stomach and in your gut. Because that's the issue we run into with these guys. They feel full, they feel bloated, they say, I can't eat anymore. And then they struggle to gain any weight. And again, the problem we come over to is if you're not eating enough to gain weight and you're lean already and you need to gain muscle. And I'm talking about guys who aren't advanced lifters. Okay, I'm not talking about my guys who bench 300, deadlift 500. We're not talking about them. We're talking about my guys who need to gain 10, 15 pounds of lean tissue still. Okay, they're the ones who run into these problems. Some cases more. Some cases more, particularly some of my taller guys. Some of them need to put on 20 pounds, 25 pounds. And I think people need to remember you can throw those numbers out the window. A lot of times people say, well, you said people at this height. Yeah, you're probably only going to gain 25 pounds of muscle if you're 5'8". Deal with it. But a guy who's 6'3", a guy who's 6'5", he's going to be able to gain a massive amount more muscle than that. And it should be obvious when you look at fat-free mass index charts that some taller guys, their muscle potential, while still being well under 25 fat-free mass index, literally in some cases is 30 or 40 pounds more body weight than they have on their frame, even after they've been lifting. So again, throw those numbers out. People need to remember a lot of people out there are a lot taller. I have multiple clients well past 6 foot. So we factor those things in. So those numbers when we're talking about, well, what do you mean a person should only gain X amount of muscle? Yeah, when you're 5'8", we're not talking about tall guys. So keep that in mind when I mention that someone might need to gain 30 pounds. But over to the point, food volume. Food volume is an issue for these undereaters. And it's something that they need to adjust. And it doesn't mean they can't eat a healthy whole foods diet and do it. It means they're going to have to make more careful food choices so that they don't feel so full that they're going to puke all the time. And it's as simple as swapping food selection around. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.